attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When immigrants are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
So we're here today because we have a trustee that doesn't understand he's in a community where immigrants are fighting every day for the respect that we should have, right? But he's a trustee of a school board. He's taking care of the children, making decisions about the children that the families that he has disparagingly spoke about. So tonight we're just here to let Trustee Pandit know that we will not stand for him to continue to be on the board. He must step down. So the first person we have speaking for us is Cynthia, a resident of school District 13 and a parent. Cynthia. Hi everyone. I'm standing here tonight as a member of the community. I'm also a parent and I'm also an educator. And I'm here to tell everyone that Trustee Pandit does not have our children's best interest at heart. He is not concerned with our children and has stated he can't be bothered and waste his time on illegal and illiterate people. As an educator, I know I always set high standards for my students, regardless of their background and their race. Mr. Pandit does not have these standards for our children if they're Latino. It was made clear that if a child is Latino, he is a gangster, rapist, kidnapper, and drug lord. He believes he is not safe here in Valley Stream because of the crimes committed on a daily basis by the Latino community. Trustee Pandit clearly stated that we are rotten people in the community. As a member of this community, I was disappointed that someone elected by these so-called rotten people made such terrible comments on someone's social media account. How can he have our children's best interest at heart when he speaks so disapprovingly about our ethnicity? As an educator and a parent, I know a school board member should have a commitment to public education and also a true appreciation for the students in the community. How can he have our students' best interests at heart when he feels the way he feels? How can he still be sitting here with no shame for what he has said? How can someone with such racist beliefs sit on a school board and make decisions for the children of this community? Trustee Pandit, we were asked you last week to step down, and yet he's still here. What you said is not okay. You can't make decisions about education for our children. We cannot trust that you are truly making the right choices for the children. For all we know, his preference for our district may be solely based on his racially prejudiced viewpoints and not on what's best for our children. So once again, we're demanding that he steps down immediately. And now we will have with us Maribel, a parent and a community leader.
Hello, my name is Maribel Canestro, and I'm here tonight to speak as a parent and a community leader. On October 11th, I was horrified to see how a school board member in my district expressed himself on social media about the Hispanic community. A parent who also happens to be a board member and a colleague of Mr. Pandit posted on her personal Facebook page a flyer promoting a Latino millennial chat. A chat that was intentionally scheduled during this time to coincide with the Hispanic Heritage Month. The topic that was to be discussed in this public forum were important facts and issues Latinos millennials face in Nassau County, such as affordability, workforce development, housing, and immigration. However, Mr. Pandit suggested other plans for the chat. He felt the chat's main focus should be about how Nassau County should eradicate Hispanic Latino gangsters, rapists, kidnappers, drug lords from our streets, so that it would be a better place to live. Because according to him, these crimes are committed every day by Hispanics. Mr. Pandit's feelings towards the Hispanic community were very clear. When he had the opportunity to reflect and rectify his words, he chose not to. When he felt pressure from the community, it was then that he made an attempt to apologize. He showed us a side of him that has made us lose trust and confidence in him. Mr. Pandit's words do not represent the Hispanic community in Valley Stream nor anywhere else. He has failed to promote and protect a culture of inclusion and acceptance in our diverse community. He does not represent all of the children in Valley Stream, and he must resign immediately. Mr. Pandit must go. Thank you.
And now we will hear from Assemblyman Ramos, who is the Deputy Speaker of the Assembly, 18 plus years on the Education Committee, and a fighter for all of us on Long Island. Assemblyman Phil Ramos.
Thank you. Thank you. I stand united with the hundreds of residents of this community who are speaking out in one unified voice against the racism that's emanating out of this school board here. With Mr. Pandit, school board member, spewed hate relating it to our president, Trump, spoke about Hispanics being rapists and murderers, and actually clarified that, in his words, that we all know the place of origin of the rapists and the robbers and the people who assault and gang members. He didn't say we have to eliminate gangs. He said we need to eliminate Hispanic/gangs. And these insulting words, when they were met with a backlash from the community, he started with a second tirade, insulting women, being disrespectful to many women who were just expressing their opinions without insulting him, calling them idiots, calling people who differed with his view, calling U.S. citizens illegals, and saying that he doesn't have time for them. That is conduct unbecoming of a school board member. We cannot have that as our moral guide for young people in our community. He is a danger not only to Hispanic students, but to non-Hispanic students who look up to him as a role model, as a board member that they should follow, and they see him spewing hate towards their friends. Their little friends in the school here are being classified as gang members. He's a danger because having that ideology, having those racist feelings, what will happen when the case of young Hispanic men or women, boys and girls, come before him accusing them of gang activity, when he's already, in his mind, he has said that he feels that Hispanics have a predisposition to be gang members and rapists, and we cannot have somebody serve on a board objectively and so publicly come out with spewing hate to our community. So we stand together as a community. I come here as Deputy Majority Leader of the New York State Assembly, as a member of 18 years of the Education Committee, where we create policy that governs this school right here. And I could not stay silent at the racism being spewed at young people who have to live around enough negativity that they hear elected officials on TV speaking, but they have the very people who are the guardians of their education spewing that same hate towards them and creating that inner feeling of inferiority by spewing hate towards them and classifying them as criminals. So I stand together, and we will publicly ask Mr. Pandit to resign, and if he does not resign, we are asking the board to remove him. There is a mechanism within New York State in which he can be removed. We are not going to stay silent, and the apology that he admitted was not an apology. It was a denial. He said, I'm sorry that the community misunderstood me. There cannot be any forgiveness without atonement. And there is absolutely no atonement on the part of Mr. Pandit. In fact, he doubled down. So we're going to stand together, we're going to fight this, and we're going to get justice in our schools, because the Hispanic community, the immigrant community, has the right to have officials in the school who are just and have the interests of our students in heart. Thank you.
He must go. 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 He must go.
Yes, so we're going in now with young founder of Young Professional and these parents to make sure that he will go. He must go.
He must go. He must go.
Madam Vice President, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I'm the Deputy Majority Leader of the New York State Assembly and an 18-year member of the Education Committee. All policy that comes down, regulates this school, comes down out of my committee. And I felt compelled to come here today after hearing the outrageous racist statements of one of your board members. I want to thank the board for your dedication. I know some of the members here. I know how dedicated you are to the young people. What was said by that board member is not, it's not in line with what this board normally represents. But I am concerned that, as we see in many cases, when issues of racism comes up, there seems to be a reflex to minimize it or, kind of put it aside or chalk it up to a mistake. The words of this gentleman were not poor judgment. They are an outright danger to our students. Anybody who says that classifies a race of people as rapists and robbers and criminals, and then says we all know where the people committing the crime, their places of origin, there's no other way to interpret that. That's not a mistake. That's not a slip of the tongue. That's something that's an outright danger to our students, not only to the Hispanic students, but to the white students who look to you for leadership and feel that is the path forward to that it's all right to even speak that way. So I want to advise you of something, that in Massapequa, Brian Butler was a board member who was removed by a board vote for calling the community Nazis. Said you're acting like Nazis, was removed for that. In Winedance, Andrew Gill, we had a board member removed. He called a group of people uneducated Negroes, and he was removed from the board by the board. In Brentwood, 2 board members were removed. In Patchogue, Medford, Marie Weeks was removed. This board has the power to remove Mr. Pandit. I have a question for you. The vote that was just taken was to ask him to resign or to remove him?
Ask him to resign.
To ask him to resign. There is a misunderstanding because I've heard from the public who says, the board's hands are tied, they can't do anything. And my knowledge of state education law, and correct me if I'm wrong, this council, the board can vote to remove him. The vote can, and he can appeal it to state ed. But in all these cases I'm telling you right now, which were similar to this, state ed upheld and sustained the removal. So Mr. Council, does this board have the power to remove him?
There is authority for the board to initiate removal proceedings. That would require a hearing, and then you're correct that thereafter, should they remove him following the proceeding, that he could appeal that decision to the Commissioner of Education, and alternatively, the Commissioner of Education is authorized to commence charges against a board member for removal.
So then it kind of begs the question, and I don't mean to put the board on the spot, and again, we use the term that this was bad judgment, again, minimizing what happened here. This vote that just occurred, why wasn't it a resolution to remove him? My concern is that the Hispanic communities of color will be once again placated with a symbolic vote that means nothing. If he says, I'm not going to resign, you can't really do anything other than take that vote.
I think you're asking the board whether the board, if the trustee does not resign, whether the board would consider bringing charges against the trustee, and that would be a legal matter I would have to discuss with them.
All right, so the board is not ready to take that position that if he refuses to resign, they will move to remove him.
Not without advice of counsel, not until we discuss this between the attorney and his client.
Okay. All right, so I just want to clarify the public, this board can, with one vote, remove him. It can be done. If he does not resign, they will be considering it, and of course, we will come back to hold some accountability to those words. Surprisingly, in one of the tirades, and we're not talking one statement, we're talking a series of statements, he called a young lady who was here a coward, and quite surprisingly, he's not here today to face the public that he disparaged. So I would ask that the board please stand up, have the courage to take, I know it's difficult to do this, I know there's a lot of internal politics, but it's something that cannot be tolerated. It's a signal we have to show the students, and as a board of good moral character, what was said here is not just a misjudgment, it's a danger to this school district here, and I ask you to please follow up. We will follow up in the next meeting and see what has transpired, if a resignation has occurred, and what the next step is. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're in public session. We're in public session with the board. I would like to read a resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education hereby appoints special counsel to be selected by the President of the Board of Education at the current hourly rate of its general counsel to conduct an investigation into allegations of misconduct by a member of the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.